Hey everyone, and welcome back to Motivation Library. Today we are taking a deep dive into some ancient texts that you might not know about, and they might just blow your mind. The Books of Enoch. Now, you might be familiar with Enoch from the Bible, the guy who walked with God and then vanished. But these books that are attributed to him, they take his story to a whole other level. We're talking angels, giants, journeys through heaven and hell. It's a wild ride.
It really is. We're exploring 1 Enoch, 2 Enoch, and 3 Enoch, and they offer a glimpse into a world of all these mystical and cosmological ideas that were, swirling around in the centuries before and after Christ. They weren't included in the traditional Bible, but they were hugely influential in early Jewish and Christian thought.
Okay, so if they were considered scripture by many, why are we diving into them? What makes them so important?
That's a great question. While they might not be considered scripture by everyone, they give us incredible context. These books help us understand how people were interpreting the Bible and developing theological concepts way back then. Plus, there's that air of mystery around them. Like, they might hold hidden knowledge or alternative perspectives on stories that we think we know.
I love a good mystery. So where do we even begin with all of this? Which book kicks off our Enochian adventure?
Let's start with 1 Enoch. If you're into apocalyptic literature, this one is a must-read. It's packed with intense descriptions of the end times and Judgment Day. It really captures the anxieties of that period.
Okay, so we're talking like doomsday prophecies, visions of heaven and hell. Sign me up. What else makes 1 Enoch stand out?
Well, there's the story of the Watchers, these fallen angels who decide to, shall we say, mingle with human women.
And the result? Giants, of course. Big giants. Like the Nephilim mentioned in Genesis. Is 1 Enoch where that story comes from?
It definitely expands on that brief mention in Genesis. In 1 Enoch, these giants are depicted as these forces of chaos that spread corruption and ultimately contribute to the wickedness that led to the Great Flood.
Oh, so 1 Enoch is like filling in the gaps.
Yeah.
Adding an extra layer of detail to the biblical narrative.
Right.
What else can you tell us about these Watchers? What kind of role do they play in all this?
They were like the ultimate bad boys. Rebellious angels who share forbidden knowledge with humans, magic, warfare, all sorts of things that get humanity into trouble. Think of it as like a cautionary tale about what happens when you stray from divine wisdom.
Okay, so forbidden knowledge corrupt angels. I'm getting some serious Paradise Lost vibes here. But what about Enoch himself? Where does he fit into all of this apocalyptic drama?
Well, 1 Enoch is presented as a record of Enoch's own journey through different heavens. He's guided by angels. It's like he gets this VIP tour of the cosmos. And he learns about the organization of angels, the secrets of the calendar system. He even witnesses the presence of God himself.
Wow, that's quite a journey. I'm picturing some pretty incredible imagery here. Any particularly memorable details that stood out to you?
Oh, so many. Imagine Enoch describing these different dimensions of time and space. He's encountering celestial beings and seeing all those heavenly bodies up close. It's like a mind-bending exploration of the spiritual realm, all set against this backdrop of a world on the verge of destruction.
It's incredible how these ancient authors could create such vivid and imaginative worlds. But it makes sense, right? When you're faced with uncertainty and turmoil, people naturally seek explanations, comfort, maybe even a glimpse of what lies beyond. So would you say that 1 Enoch was like a response to those anxieties about sin, judgment, and the end of the world?
Absolutely. It reflects this deep longing for understanding in the face of all these overwhelming cosmic forces. It's a powerful expression of the human desire to find meaning, even amidst chaos.
What's really fascinating is that a passage from 1 Enoch is actually quoted in the New Testament, in the book of Jude.
That's right. It's a direct link showing how those early Christian writers were engaging with a much wider range of Jewish traditions than just what ended up in the official Bible.
Oh, wow. It's like finding this hidden passageway connecting all these different parts of history. I love discovering those unexpected connections. Okay, 1 Enoch sounds like quite the roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
But we have 2 more books to explore. What's next on our Enochian reading list?
Let's shift gears and explore 2 Enoch, which takes a more mystical and cosmological approach. This one focuses on Enoch's transformation into an angel and his acquisition of secret knowledge about creation itself.
Enoch becomes an angel. Okay, now we're talking. This sounds like a serious spiritual upgrade.
It is. 2 Enoch dives into some really fascinating concepts, like God creating the world through speech, the intricate structure of the heavens with their angelic inhabitants, and even the nature of time and the secrets of the calendar.
I'm already intrigued. It sounds like 2 Enoch is like a crash course in ancient cosmology and mysticism, all rolled into one.
You could say that. It shows us how these early Jewish thinkers were trying to make sense of their beliefs and their understanding of the world around them. Combining religious tradition with scientific observation and even mystical speculation.
It's like a fusion of science and spirituality. Centuries before anyone ever used those terms. But back to Enoch, he goes on this amazing journey, transforms into an angel, and learns all these cosmic secrets. What does he do with this newfound knowledge? Does he just keep it to himself?
Not at all. He's specifically instructed to go back to Earth and share all this wisdom with his sons and his household. He's passing it down to future generations.
So it's not just about personal enlightenment. It's about preserving and transmitting this knowledge, ensuring that these teachings live on. That makes me think about how both 1 Enoch and 2 Enoch, even though they explore these different themes and genres, they both seem to emphasize the importance of righteousness and living in accordance with divine principles.
You're picking up on a key theme here. Even though they approach it from different angles, both books highlight the consequences of straying from those principles. It speaks to a core concern that runs through these texts, despite all of their diverse mystical and cosmological explorations.
It's like they're exploring this tension between human curiosity, our desire for knowledge and power, and the responsibility that comes with it. Okay, before we move on, can you give us a quick recap of the most important takeaways from 2 Enoch?
Absolutely. In 2 Enoch, we witness Enoch's incredible transformation into an angel, his acquisition of this really profound knowledge about creation, and his mission to share that knowledge with all his descendants. And it all highlights this vibrant and diverse religious landscape. It blends elements of Jewish mysticism and cosmology.
Okay, I think I'm following so far. We've journeyed through an apocalyptic vision of the end times and witnessed Enoch's, angelic transformation. Now, what about the final book, 3 Enoch? What kind of adventure are we in for with this one?
Well, 3 Enoch takes us even deeper into the realm of the mystical. This one centers around the figure of Metatron, who is essentially Enoch elevated to an even higher angelic status.
Wait, even higher than a regular angel?
Huh.
Just how powerful are we talking here? What makes Metatron so special?
Get ready, because 3 Enoch describes Metatron ascending to a throne near God's throne. He becomes this heavenly scribe, a mediator between God and humanity, and even a judge of sorts.
Whoa. Talk about a promotion. From human to angel to, a cosmic VIP? That's quite a trajectory.
It is. 3 Enoch really pushes the boundaries of angelology in Jewish mystical thought. They give Metatron incredible power and authority. It's no wonder this sparked some debate among the rabbis.
I can imagine. You've got this human-turned angel who's practically rubbing shoulders with God. I can see how that would raise some theological eyebrows. What are the main points of contention?
Well, some question whether this level of angelic power infringed on God's unique sovereignty. It's a fascinating glimpse into the evolving and sometimes contentious nature of Jewish mystical thought.
So it wasn't all just acceptance and agreement. These were complex ideas that sparked genuine debate and discussion. That's really interesting.
Exactly. It reminds us that religious thought wasn't static or, monolithic even back then. These ideas were constantly being debated, reinterpreted, and even challenged.
This is giving me a whole new appreciation for the richness and complexity of these ancient traditions. It's not just about accepting things at face value. It's about wrestling with these ideas, engaging in critical thinking, and figuring out what resonates with you.
I couldn't agree more. And that's one of the things that makes these texts so relevant even today. They invite us to engage in that same process of exploration and critical thinking.
Well, we've journeyed through apocalyptic visions, witnessed Enoch's angelic transformation, and encountered this controversial figure of Metatron. That's a lot to process. Before we wrap up part 1 of our deep dive into the Books of Enoch, is there a common thread that ties all 3 of these books together?
Despite all their differences, they all grapple with those fundamental questions that have haunted humanity for centuries. The nature of good and evil, the consequences of our actions, and our relationship with the divine.
It's amazing how these ancient texts can still speak to us today, exploring those universal themes that continue to fascinate and challenge us. We'll be back with part 2 of our exploration into the Books of Enoch, where we'll delve even deeper into the fascinating world of these ancient texts and the mystical secrets they hold. Welcome back to Motivation Library. We're continuing our deep dive into the Books of Enoch, these ancient texts that offer a unique perspective on the biblical world. Last time we covered a lot of ground. We journeyed through heaven and hell with 1 Enoch, witnessed Enoch's transformation into an angel in 2 Enoch, and met the enigmatic Metatron in 3 Enoch.
It's amazing how much these books tell us about the beliefs and ideas that were, circulating in the centuries surrounding the time of Christ. Even though they weren't included in the Bible, they provide so many rich details.
Yeah, it really is like piecing together this lost puzzle, uncovering a hidden layer of history and religious thought. We've covered the main storylines, but now I'm curious to dive even deeper into some of the specific details. What were some of the most captivating moments or like aha moments that stood out to you?
Well, what fascinates me is how these books blend traditional Jewish thought with more mystical and cosmological ideas. Take 1 Enoch, for example, where the story of the Watchers and the Nephilim is kind of woven into the biblical account of the flood, offering a deeper explanation for the corruption that led to such a cataclysmic event.
It's like they're taking those familiar stories from the Bible and adding layers of interpretation, exploring those deeper meanings and motivations. And the imagery is so vivid and imaginative. I mean, who can forget those giant angels with their flaming swords or Enoch traveling through multiple heavens?
Absolutely. Those descriptions capture a sense of awe and wonder about the cosmos and the spiritual realm. And in 1 Enoch, the detailed accounts of the calendar system and the organization of angels are like a glimpse into this perfectly ordered universe where everything has its place and its purpose.
It makes you wonder how those ancient authors developed those ideas. Do you think they were based on actual astronomical observations or maybe astrological beliefs of the time?
That's a great question. It's likely that these texts blend scientific knowledge, religious tradition, and mystical speculation. It's really interesting to see how they tried to reconcile these different ways of understanding the world.
It's like they were exploring that intersection of science and spirituality long before those concepts were even, defined. Speaking of unique blends, let's talk about 2 Enoch for a moment. That idea of Enoch transforming into an angel and acquiring secret knowledge about creation, it's such a powerful image of spiritual evolution.
It definitely speaks to the human desire for transcendence, for a deeper connection to the divine. And the account of God creating the world through speech, that's a beautiful and poetic expression of the creative power of language.
When you mentioned that, it reminded me of the opening lines of the Gospel of John where it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God."
That's a brilliant connection. It shows how those ideas about divine speech and creation resonated across different religious traditions and scriptures.
It's like a thread of commonality woven through those seemingly, different texts. And while we're on the subject of 2 Enoch, it's important to note that even though it delves into these mystical and cosmological realms, it still emphasizes the importance of ethical living and the consequences of sin.
You're right. That message is woven throughout these texts. Knowledge and power are only truly meaningful when they're aligned with ethical behavior and a reverence for the divine.
Now 3 Enoch takes us even further into the mystical, with its focus on Metatron, that incredibly powerful angel who sends to a throne near God's. I have to admit the concepts of a human being elevated to such a high status is mind-blowing. It makes me wonder about the nature of divinity itself. Is it something that's exclusively reserved for God, or can humans, through righteousness and spiritual transformation, attain a level of divine power and authority?
That's a question that has fascinated theologians and mystics for centuries. 3 Enoch doesn't give us a definitive answer, but it definitely pushes the boundaries of traditional thought. It prompts us to consider the possibilities of spiritual evolution and the interconnectedness of the human and the divine.
And as we mentioned before, Metatron's exalted status wasn't without controversy. It sparked debate about the limits of angelic power and the uniqueness of God's sovereignty.
Exactly. 3 Enoch reflects the dynamic and evolving nature of religious thought, reminding us that these ideas weren't static or monolithic, but were constantly being debated, reinterpreted, and even challenged.
Yeah, it's like we're witnessing a snapshot of this vibrant intellectual and spiritual community grappling with these really profound questions about the nature of reality and the relationship between humanity and the divine.
And those questions are just as relevant today as they were centuries ago. These texts invite us to grapple with our own beliefs about the cosmos, the nature of good and evil, and the possibilities of spiritual transformation.
So even though the Books of Enoch weren't included in the Bible, they're incredibly valuable. They give us a glimpse into this lost world of religious thought, and they challenge us to think critically about our own spiritual journeys.
That's the beauty of exploring these ancient texts, isn't it? They offer a window into the past, but they also have the power to illuminate our present and inspire our future.
Okay, so we've touched on some of the key highlights and aha moments from the Books of Enoch. To make this even more concrete for our listeners, let's dive into some specific passages that really illustrate these themes of spiritual exploration, cosmic wonder, and ethical responsibility. For example, in 1 Enoch, there are those incredible descriptions of Enoch's journey through the heavens guided by angels.
Yes, like the part where he describes seeing the treasuries of the snow and the angels who control the elements, and the way he talks about the different orders of angels and their specific functions in the cosmic order. It's like he's being given this behind-the-scenes tour of the universe.
And in 2 Enoch, we have that fascinating account of God creating the world through speech, emphasizing the creative power of language and the divine origin of the cosmos.
And the part where Enoch is transformed into an angel and he's given access to the heavenly records, it's a powerful image of spiritual enlightenment and the merging of the human and the divine.
Then in 3 Enoch, we have those intricate descriptions of Metatron's ascent to a throne near God and his role as a heavenly scribe and a mediator. It's a testament to the idea that even a human being can attain incredible spiritual heights through righteousness and devotion.
All of these passages and many others throughout the Books of Enoch paint a picture of this vibrant and imaginative spiritual world. They invite us to explore the mysteries of the cosmos and the depths of our own souls.
Well, folks, that wraps up part 2 of our deep dive into the Books of Enoch. Join us next time for the final part of our journey, where we'll explore even more fascinating details and reflect on the enduring relevance of these ancient texts for our own lives. Welcome back to Motivation Library for the final part of our deep dive into the Books of Enoch.
We've journeyed through apocalyptic visions, witnessed Enoch's transformation into an angel,
And encountered the enigmatic Metatron.
Right.
And now it's time to answer the big question, so what? Why should our listeners care about these ancient texts? What makes them relevant beyond just being interesting historical artifacts?
That's a great point. It's one thing to, explore all the stories and the ideas, but it's another to actually connect them to our lives today. One key takeaway from the Books of Enoch is this emphasis on the power of knowledge and the responsibility that comes with it. Think back to 2 Enoch, where Enoch is entrusted with this secret wisdom about creation, and he's instructed to share it with his family.
Yeah, it's like receiving a precious inheritance, a legacy of understanding that needs to be passed down through generations.
Right.
And it's not about hoarding that knowledge or keeping it to yourself. It's about using it to benefit others and guide them toward a deeper understanding of the world and their place in it.
Exactly. The Books of Enoch suggest that true knowledge, especially knowledge of the divine, carries a responsibility to share it, to illuminate the path for others and help them lead more righteous lives.
And it's not just about, theoretical knowledge. It's about putting that knowledge into action, living a life with integrity and compassion.
You're hitting on a core principle here. The Books of Enoch consistently remind us that knowledge without action is hollow. True wisdom is reflected in our deeds, in how we treat others, and in our commitment to justice and righteousness.
That's a powerful message that transcends time and cultures. It's a timeless reminder that knowledge is a gift, a tool to be used wisely and for the greater good. Another important takeaway is the way these texts grapple with the problem of evil and suffering, something that's still very relevant in our world today.
Yeah, they don't shy away from those difficult questions. The Books of Enoch acknowledge the presence of darkness and injustice, but they also offer a vision of hope, a belief in the ultimate triumph of good over evil.
That's a crucial message, especially in a world where we're bombarded with, news of conflict and violence and tragedy. It can be so easy to get caught up in all the negativity and lose sight of the bigger picture.
The Books of Enoch remind us that even in the darkest of times, there's a flicker of hope, a belief in a higher power that's working to restore balance and justice to the universe. And they encourage us to be a part of that restoration, to actively work towards a better world.
And they don't offer, simplistic answers. They explore complex themes like free will, the consequences of our actions, the nature of divine judgment. They provide a nuanced perspective on the human experience. They encourage us to, wrestle with these ideas and come to our own understanding.
Exactly. They challenge us to reflect on our own beliefs and values, to examine our role in the world, and to strive to live in a way that aligns with our highest aspirations.
So in a sense, these aren't just ancient texts. They're guides for our own spiritual journeys, offering tools for navigating the challenges of life, finding meaning in suffering, and cultivating a deeper connection to the divine. And let's not forget the sense of wonder and awe that these texts evoke. Those vivid descriptions of heavenly realms, encounters with angels and other celestial beings, they remind us that there's so much more to reality than what we can see and touch.
Yeah, it's like they reawaken that childlike sense of wonder, reminding us that the universe is full of mystery and beauty, waiting to be explored.
They encourage us to open our minds to new possibilities, to embrace the vastness and complexity of creation, and to cultivate a sense of awe and reverence for the divine. So the books of Enoch offer us these valuable lessons about knowledge and responsibility, a framework for understanding good and evil, and a spark of wonder and inspiration. But before we wrap up, I'm curious to hear your final thought for our listeners. What's the one question or idea you'd like to leave them with as they continue to explore these fascinating texts?
Here's something to ponder. Imagine yourself transported back in time to when these ideas were brand new and they were sparking all these heated debates. How would you have reacted to Enoch's visions? What do you think the enduring fascination with angels and heavenly realms says about, our human longing for meaning and connection to something greater than ourselves?
That's a great point. It encourages us to engage with these texts on a personal level, to imagine ourselves as part of those ancient conversations. And who knows, maybe it'll even spark a desire to explore other apocryphal literature and mystical traditions. There's a whole world of ancient wisdom out there just waiting to be discovered.
Exactly. Keep reading, keep exploring, and keep those questions coming.
That's the perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through the Books of Enoch.
Until next time, keep seeking knowledge and expanding your library.